And so I am officially calling the meeting to order at 12:06, and I would please ask Madam Secretary to call the roll.
Director Curry,
Present.
Director Robinson,
Present.
Chair Garza,
And I'm present.
and for the record, those directors also present, Director Harrington
Present.
and Board Chair Taylor.
Present.
You have a quorum.
And thank you to the directors who are attending, not necessarily members of this committee. That's certainly appreciated. The next regular meeting of the Human Resources Committee is scheduled for Thursday, May 18, 2023 at 12 p.m. Is there anyone registered to provide virtual oral testimony or submitted written testimony to be included into the record?
No, we did not receive any registrations nor written testimony.
Okay, so I am going to ask our Chief Human Resources Officer, Valerie Amos, to review some reports for us. And I just want to publicly thank her for spending time with me a few days ago, orienting me on the work that the Human Resources Department is involved in, tremendous work to support the entire system. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Amos.
Great. Thank you, Chair Garza. Good morning, everyone. I'm Valerie Amos, Chief Human Resources Officer, and I'd like to share on the first slide our impact summary as it relates to FY23 year to date. So this slide depicts information from December 1st through the end of January. At this moment, we have filled 253 positions. This does include internal as well as external hires. So we always want to ensure that there is a notable call out for our internal transfers and promotional transfers. This number does represent 156 external hires as well as 97 internal and promotional transfers. The breakout of the positions, the three top job classes includes patient care techs, respiratory nursing, and admin clerical. So we have some really good stats there. In terms of the monthly filled positions, we are tracking and trending, and there again 119 for December and 134 for January, and again that totals to 253. So what is going on with our acceptance as well as our declinations? We have been tracking our offer declinations because those are critically important to us so that we can determine how we need to strategize to ensure that all of our offers are accepted. We are at an 82% offer acceptance rate, which is pretty notable. We had 46 individuals to decline our offers in the first 2 months. So we're going to continue to drill and drive towards acceptances. Salary still is the number one factor. So we do know that we have competitive organizations within this Illinois Medical District, as well as the surrounding Chicagoland area hospitals. And we are going to look strong at ensuring that we can solve for those declinations in the near future. So as I mentioned before, 156 of the 253 are external hires. Let's talk about time to fill. The time to fill, again, it represents the date that the job is posted to the date that the job is accepted, and it's really divided over the number of positions in that given period of time when we have filled those positions.
Valerie, let me interrupt. Yes,
sure.
Director Harrington has a question.
Yes, Director Harrington.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I want to commend you because what I see is going from 299 to 120 is a 40% decrease, and that's significant. And I want to applaud you and your team for doing that.
Thank you so much, Director Harrington. So
Thank you,
you've stolen the thunder. We have we did exceed 200, days in terms of time to fill, and now we're down to 120. And again, this is fluid. Please know that these days change as we progress in terms of our hiring. So the numbers may look at one point today, and it may change, 2 months from now. So we will continue to drive that metric down. So thank you for stealing that thunder. We still are also calling out nursing. We saw a 22% reduction by end of year of 2022 in terms of our nursing number. So why is the nursing number a little higher than the total average? And some of that has to do with the way we post our jobs internally, that internal bidding process, ensuring that all of our internals have that first, right of refusal. And then we move to the external group. However, great news is that we also have been working with our nursing leadership as well as our Bureau of Human Resources who have joined today, as well as our NNOC partners. And our job descriptions have now been opened up and modified in a way so that we can attract more talent. So hopefully at these job fairs, we will see more new graduates and other individuals who can really step into these positions. So we're excited about that, and we will continue to look at that trend. Next slide, please. Okay. This slide really represents our activity. Again, it's just broken up differently, and we're just monitoring year by year. So as you can see, FY 21 through 22 through 23, the comparison for January and December months, we are leading based on those previous 2 years. The breakdown, again, 149 of those are externals and 101 are internal. So why is this number different from the first slide? This number is different because these are the bodies that have made it to CCH. They're in the chair. That first slide represented folks who had accepted. Some had not started in their positions, but this slide represents people who have actually started. So on that previous slide, we have some folks who are pending start dates, and they will start in the near future, and you will see this number go up as those individuals start. Next slide, please. So in terms of turnover and separations, we continue to, have a modest trend, 2.3% year-to-date turnover. Again, this represents December and January. 65% of our terminations, or our separations rather, were due to retirement. So that represents 82 individuals. Again, we are looking at ensuring that we retain as many team members as we can. And so we've been working towards not only training programs, better orientation processes. Ling Dane, our Chief Experience Officer, is doing such a fabulous job at bringing other programs to CCH. So we're just going to continue to partner with her, and then driving change throughout the departments, having those leadership rounds, talking with the employees, as well as having listening sessions that our team has been working on with our extended partner Slalom. So there's a lot of great effort around that. I don't have a report today, but most importantly, that is going to help us in terms of driving change. We are still below the national benchmark standard. And as you can see to the right, that graph really represents how we are trending. So we need to go down to the right and down on this one. And so we're going to continue to monitor that. A total of 127 as at this point from December and January. Next slide, please. So let's see the breakout of that. As I mentioned, a total of 127, 82 of those represented retirements. And if you could look at the orange, that represents FY 2023. And the second category of resignations were 43. And then we had 2 discharges, again, through the months of December and January. So again, we are down on the retirements from FY 21, but a little slightly higher from FY22. But we understand, again, that this is a very tenured organization, long-term employees. So this is why we are attempting to attract and recruit talent to offset some of the anticipated retirements. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure. My apologies.
The 43 that resigned, what tenure group do they fall in general?
I can get you that information. I don't have it broken out, but let me follow back up with you, Director
You don't-
Robinson.
No, that's okay. You don't have to do that. I was just trying to
Sure.
see if it falls into that gap that was mentioned in a previous meeting where we said that I think between 5 and 15-year tenure, you're losing folks. I'm just trying to see if that's the predominant number within the 43.
I do have some preliminary information that's not fully baked yet,
Sure.
because we have been looking at kind of an analysis. So I do have some preliminary information, just want to make certain that we have it fully baked, because I do have some groups broken out by the different departments, the retirement time frame that people can retire. They can retire as early as 50, and then I have it broken out by 55 and up, and 60 and up, 65 and up, and 70 and up. And so I do have some preliminary information with categories associated with it, but I don't have the particular metrics that are assigned to those 43, but we can certainly drill down.
You don't have to get it back to me. I'm not trying to create more work for you. Just a
Oh,
thought
okay.
to think about it. So I'm not creating any work here. It's not that
Okay.
important.
Okay, thank you.
It may give you insight. That's all.
Absolutely. And that's why we're analyzing it, because again, we know that folks have other choices to go other places, but the resignations and retirements, they lead the pack. So thank you. Director Harrington?
Yes, my question is, how many of our employees are at or over retirement age? Is it a significant percent? Is it like 5%, 10%, 20%?
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, we are conducting an analysis of it, and I have some preliminary data that I'm not fully convinced that we can present at this moment. We're still gathering some information, but we do have, in the 800s, 800 plus individuals who kind of fall in a 50 and over group. However, we need to conduct our analysis and come back with some more details with that particular question.
Yeah, and it's also years of service. So you may have some people
Correct.
under 50 that
That's
are
right.
eligible for retirement as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and we've been breaking it out by job titles and so forth, and we had reached out to our pension board as well. However, we still need to finalize that analysis. But thank you for your question. Next slide, please.
Thank you for your answer.
No problem. All right. So this next slide, again, it just kind of follows through. We talked about hiring, then separation. Here's the turnover. It's just depicted in a different way. This represents December and January, as I mentioned before. So we're, in 2.3%. At the bottom, though, I think that it's important to note, year over year, we are losing employees. So this turnover rate still looks great. However, our base is changing. So I just want to call that out. That's why it's imperative for us to talk about some of the recruitment strategies and retention strategies. So we started off with over 6,000 in FY21, by 5,700 plus in 2022 as the base, and now we're down to 55, a little over 5,500. So even though the separation numbers are better, we still have to be mindful of our base. And I just want to just pause for a moment to also share with you that in the previous slide, we talked about individuals who were coming in and of course leaving. we have to also just be mindful that the external hiring number, that 149 that started versus the 127 that has left, that represents a small margin. And this is why it's so critically important for us to hone in on, both recruitment and retention. So I don't want to mislead the board. I want to let you know fully that we are moving the needle. However, we still have to accelerate hiring and achieve our goals. Director Harrington? You're on mute, Director Harrington.
Yeah, I just want to make an observation. Even though we have declined in the number of employees, employing 5,556 people in Cook County is a contribution to the local economy. I assume that most of our employees do live within Cook County, and that's a significant number of people that buy and purchase goods and services in Cook County. So there's this other aspect of it that I think we need to look at too.
Absolutely, and that's a great observation. And again, we haven't really looked in the market in terms of what other folks are doing and seeing with their employee base, but I just wanted to call it out as it relates to turnover, because even though the number is smaller, we just want to be fully, transparent with the number of employees. Director Robinson?
Okay, so here's a question. I see you have the 3 years up there. And so this pretty much covers the pandemic. Did we see this slide in the total number of employees occurring pre-pandemic? So if we put it on the scale, what would it look like? Would I see a positive slope or would it be negative?
So I can pull the FY20. So I started in June of 2021, and we definitely do have some information from FY20. Perhaps I can share that with you following this meeting. Happy to share those slides with you. I don't think you were on the board when I was sharing that information.
Nope. Just again, not creating work, but if it sounded as if the concern is that we are decreasing the number of employees, and that's not by design. So then the question becomes, are we seeing this occur as a result of the pandemic and a lot of folks jumping ship because, hey, I can go make this money, but the long-term philosophy is not there, which can be negated possibly with the younger folks coming in. But again, you did say from 1 to 5, you don't have that problem. It's the in-between people who are jumping ship. Because looking at the retirees, you do a great job of keeping folks and they love being here. So just trying to understand where the real problem is occurring and how some possible solutions could be suggested. Just a thought.
No, that's good information. And we can certainly, again, pull that information and share it with you. But I agree with you. There are a variety of factors. Again, I wasn't here when COVID hit, but I do know that there were a number of employees, as I understood, who had exited the organization. In FY20, I'm looking back at a previous slide. We started, looks like in Q1 at 62, 63 employees. And we ended at the number that you see there. So, COVID hit in FY20. So I do have that information there. Yeah. So there were a total of 546 individuals who exited during that particular fiscal year versus 653 in FY23 and then 494 in FY22. If that helps. So it's hard for me to understand everything that happened at that time, but I think I see CEO Rocha, who would also like to share. Thank you.
I would absolutely. So you raise a good point, but one of the things that we know about our public safety net systems in general, they're amazing training grounds, and they're almost a degree in and of their own. And so we always see a lot of staff come in that first to 5 years, because having worked here at 5 years, you probably can go anywhere in the country. They will hire you. You have seen everything. You have been in the center of a very busy public health system with academic training and with very unique pathology. And have been trained by amazing faculty. So it's really a degree. Our goal in most institutions that we compare ourselves to have a similar issue. We have like a barbell. We have a lot of people who come in the first 5 years, and our goal is to try to keep as many as possible. Then it narrows out, and then you see a lot of people start to build up again at the 10, 15, 20 years, especially because we have our pension. And so we really have our most difficult challenge is getting people from the entry to at least 10 years. At 10 years, they usually stay longer. And so it's from 5 to 10 years that we have the greatest challenge trying to keep people here, because at that point they become very desirable. And then people make their choices. Some people will take a higher salary and forego a pension, because we're one of the last few health systems in the state, or not maybe even in the country, that has a pension system like we do. And we also offer great tuition reimbursement for nurses all the way up to the doctorate level that is open. So if anyone's listening that would like to join us, we welcome you to Cook County Health. Always wanting to do an endorsement, but we have a really robust nursing tuition reimbursement program. And so there is a lot of things to start your career here. Our goal is to convince them to stay. And so I think one of your options, one of the recommendations that you make that we will fully embrace is seeing what we can do to try to get people from that 5 to 10 year window. That's our biggest challenge, because at 10 years, you're almost halfway vested. And so the 10 years for a full pension doesn't look so, it looks very promising to be able to get there. And so we're really trying to get folks from the 5 to 10 year window to stay with us. And we hope that then they become part of our leadership team and structure and grow and have opportunities. That's why sometimes, and I always push Ms. Amos to say that our hiring velocity is important for external hires, because we need to get people in, but our internal velocity is also important, because one of the questions we get in our staff survey is people want to feel that upward mobility. And so by having, as she talked about, 97 people move up in our organization in this quarter, that then helps people feel that they're moving and help them get that growth. And so we're very excited about that.
So it's interesting you say that. In the exit interviews, have you been able to ascertain, other than for a higher pay, why people are leaving?
Valerie, I know you've worked on some of our exit work.
I have worked on the exit work, and Director Story, we don't have the full analysis. We've actually recently upgraded our exit survey, so we are piloting our exit survey, and I should have some more information for you with concrete data. So we saw in the preliminary, the old survey that was a little difficult for us to extract data from, that it was a variety of reasons. So to Director Robinson's point, we saw folks leaving for, trailing spouses during the COVID period of time. But again, it was all diffuse. Some was relationship, some was, environment with the organization. So there were a variety of themes that we saw, but instead of us saying themes, I wanted to track and trend the number of job titles, have a little bit more granular analysis as to why people were leaving. So we're asking much better questions now. We should have some more concrete data for you. Right. Great conversation. Next slide, please. So speaking of optimization and more work, our 3 vendors that are listed here, Slalom, Deloitte, and Cross Country, they have been awesome at assisting us. Thank you to Mr. Rocha and you, the board, as well as others who have supported us in this effort. So why is this so important? We needed to streamline our recruitment processes. When I came to the organization, there were quite a number of steps, and there still are quite a number, but not as many. We've streamlined, we've refined, and then we've also integrated a number of recruitment resources in to assist our team so that we can accelerate that hiring. We've also been utilizing some of those individuals for job fair coordination so that we can support monthly job fairs. So I won't read everything on this slide, but most importantly, Slalom has been taken the lead with a number of process optimization points. So they've been ensuring that we have digitization in place. They're helping us with data analytics as it relates to hiring metrics, and some tools that have assisted us with being able to generate reports and analyze the agency spend and so forth. So they've been a really strong partner with us. Deloitte, who started with us last fall, they have been working on an analysis of our job descriptions, the architecture, ensuring that we have a performance management solution in place, as well as looking at our back end technology as it relates to employees. Because again, in order to retain our employees, we need to ensure that we have equipped them with the necessary tools in order to request leave of absences, tuition reimbursements, all of those different needs that they may have. In addition to Deloitte assisting us with HR optimization, they have also brought in recruitment resources. And so those resources have helped us with acceleration of hiring. And then cross country, they have been boots on the ground as well with recruiters, assisting us with hiring needs, as well as job fair coordination. And then a number of the marketing tools that you have seen, we have been working internally with our communications and marketing team, and cross country has been also developing and working closely with our marketing team to ensure that we cast and communicate a wide net as it relates to candidate sourcing for our job fairs. They've been assisting us with our job fair flyers. So you may have seen some of those. We have job fairs on next week, and you're going to see some more flyers in this presentation. So that just provides an overview of some of the external vendors that have been brought aboard to assist us. Next slide, please. And here's the breakout. It's an eye chart. I won't read it all, but just some key performance indicators to the right. Slalom, as I mentioned, they joined us. They've been overseeing a number of projects as it relates to refining recruitment and ensuring that we have training, revised hiring training in place. They've been assisting us with creating those digitized dashboards as it relates to recruitment transparency. Instead of emailing back and forth, calling back and forth, we needed some time savers. We needed to be more efficient, more productive. And so saving time also allows the recruiters to extend more offers. In addition to that, we've seen a number of what we call decision to hires, which is really the offers. We have a tracking tool now that we are able to identify across the work stream how many are in our queue, how many are being closed on a daily basis, what that time element looks like, and then it also sends back notifications to the hiring manager and back and forth. So we have a repository so that all of these offers are no longer in the emails of our recruiters. If people are out, we don't want to wait. So we're trying new things. We're trying to employ things to really streamline and become more efficient. Next slide, please. Here's an example of some of the digitization that I mentioned before. We have that hiring manager dashboard, which really creates that transparency. To the right, that decision to hire, which is a fancy term for an offer. We have a repository that each manager is able to review and send information back and forth. We recently launched the employee health service to the lower left, digital appointment scheduling tool. There was quite a bit of back and forth with our employment health service group and our team. And so we wanted to come up with a streamlined way to actually get our new hires scheduled for those appointments, those health screenings in a more efficient manner. So this digitization is assisting us. We just launched it towards the end of January, and we will continue to pilot and refine it as much as possible. And then last but not least, we have Hiring Central, is what I'm calling it. We launched a SharePoint site. It's housed on our intranet. It's a really cool tool, and it provides helpful resources. It serves as a toolkit, as a one-stop shop for our hiring managers so that they can identify all of the steps in the recruitment process, all of the tools that's needed, all of the forms that may be needed, any resources about job fairs, how to request job fairs, those types of resources. So we want to arm people. We want to ensure that we have that natural collaboration and support that HR is supposed to provide our end users. Next slide, please. Deloitte, again, they came aboard in terms of the optimization, as I mentioned before. I won't read everything that's on the slide, but just some high points. Working on offboarding and onboarding processes as it relates to our employees, ensuring that folks have a really nice, welcoming opportunity to step into CCH. So they've been working on helping us overhaul our orientation for our new employees, which they have done, and it's a fabulous process, and we have been receiving feedback, and we will continue to refine as necessary. They've been assisting us with compensation and job architecture. So they've been looking at more than 850 job codes and titles to help us kind of dig down deep and in so that we can create these job families and be more competitive in the market by taking all of our information and ensuring that we have a good baseline with the benchmark standards. Performance management to the lower left is needed for our organization. We do have some systems in place, and we want to be more standardized across the organization. And then, as I mentioned before, the HR technology as it relates to employees. So that's the back end processes such as leave of absences, tuition reimbursements, and all of the other processes that we need to support our employees. So that's Deloitte's optimization side. And then the next slide will represent the recruiting side. Next slide, please. Oh, maybe it doesn't. I should have said it on the previous slide. They also brought in recruitment resources that have helped us with hiring and accelerate the hiring process. Here's an example of Deloitte's work, workforce development. Some key deliverables here is really they've brought aboard the onboarding journal, revamped our new employee orientation, as well as now we're working on management training. And so this really matters to us because we want our new employees and new managers in general to really be equipped and prepared on their first day. Next slide, please. Here's the slide I meant to talk about. So here's the operations side, the recruiters from Deloitte. What have they accomplished? Again, they've been assisting us with posting and ensuring that candidates are verified and validated to be minimally qualified for their positions. They've conducted over 400 actions to assist us, and they still have about 600 more in process. So they've been really working to advance the change that's needed, reducing some of the administrative burden from our existing team. So without Deloitte, we'd be kind of hard pressed to get through a number of the challenges that we have been faced with. So next slide, please. Cross country, they have been on board with us and they have been supporting us with job fair coordination, as I mentioned before. They also have been assigned to over 600 requisitions or positions. Their outreach marketing campaign has yielded over 1,100 candidates to seek opportunities at Cook County Health as well. So we're very impressed with their marketing and communications, and we're working towards really driving change with our monthly job fairs. Next slide, please. Speaking of cross country, here's an example of some of their work. To the left is a TikTok video. It's a campaign, and they have a reach of over 100,000 people who are part of their network. They have also created social media outreach information for all of our nursing job fairs. They've also created these DigiMe videos, which are just short videos that really highlights particular positions, the minimum qualifications, as well as how they're utilized within the organization. And then, of course, many of you have seen our flyers as well as it relates to some of our job fairs. So their TikTok impressions are listed up top there, over 40,000, as well as almost 5,000 clicks and views. Chair
Hey, Valerie,
Garza?
yeah, I gotta do a time check. So can
Sure.
we kind of accelerate this a little bit? Because we need to
Sure.
get into closed session the next 5 minutes or
Absolutely.
so, because we might have some people leaving. Thanks.
Thank you. Will
Okay,
do.
you're welcome.
I'll wrap it up. Next slide, please. All right. Brazen, who's our last vendor. We've utilized Brazen for the virtual job fairs. We hosted 5 virtually, had an 86% attendance rate, so that exceeds the benchmark standards. And we're going to continue to use Brazen for upcoming job fairs. Next slide, please. Our strategy is to continue everything that I mentioned. I won't go through every bucket, but accelerating hiring, ensuring that we have unified recruiting goals, having clarity amongst our HR team members as well as stakeholders, our internal stakeholders, and definitely our external folks that we're bringing in, and then looking to refine our ways of doing business. So efficiency, productivity, and time savings. Next slide, please. The next several slides, we are hiring. Here are just examples. Debbie, you can keep moving, of our upcoming job fairs next week. Next slide, keep going, Debbie.
It's not moving. Hold on a second. Okay, no.
Yeah, so the next several slides, you can keep moving, Debbie. These are just examples again of our job fairs that are being hosted next week, February the 22nd and 21st, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Valerie, thank you. Let me just say a few things. One, a lot of the information is not new to me because you and I spoke a few days ago, and I just want to reassure the directors that, I mean, I obviously I've served on this committee since I've joined the board, and I know one of the issues that we've put a lot of focus on is, you know, the whole recruitment hiring process, and just want to say that to be assured that Valerie has gone through, she and her team have gone through and really analyzed and I guess assessed and re-engineered the process and the workflows around these critical areas. And then obviously you just got the presentation that couples that work with the the onboarding of Deloitte to see where they can assist. So I think everything that can be done is being done, but yet she's still stretching herself and her team to think of creative ways to work around, you know, some of the challenges. So I just want to offer that as your incoming chair. If there aren't any other questions or comments, then I'll move us along here. Just give me 1 second so I can get back to my notes. Sorry about the delay. Okay, let's see. So the full committee, I'm sorry, let me see, I'm lost here. Okay, so minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting of November 18th, 2022. These were approved by the board at the December meeting, but are being presented for the committee's review and discussion. If necessary, we can make corrections if they need to be made to the minutes. So without delay, motion to accept the minutes of the November 18th, 2022 Human Resources Committee meeting. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. I will second that motion. And Debbie, can we do the roll call?
Roll call on the motion to accept the minutes. Aye or nay? Director Curry?
Aye.
Director Robinson?
Aye.
And Chair Garza?
Aye.
You have
Sorry
3
about,
yeas and 0 nays. And for the record, Chair, I forgot to mention earlier, Director Webster Cross and Director Sorrell are with us.
no, that's great. Thank you for joining us. And sorry about that fragmentation on my part. I lost my notes here. The committee will now go into closed session. Any action taken on the proposed CBA will take place in open session following the closed meeting discussion. Can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Thank you. I will second it. Madam Secretary?
Motion to go into closed session, aye or nay, Director Curry?
Aye.
Director Robinson?
Aye.
And Chair Garza?
Aye, and let me just make one more statement. The motion to go into the closed meeting is that we just approved is pursuant to the following exceptions to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120 /2 C 1.2.11 and 17. So I just want to put that on there for the record. And so we will now go into closed session. So we'll see you in that session. Thank you.
Go ahead and connect to close.